Heart and mead.
Why is he singing? Is this a Poker reference? Not allowed.
Is
You in
not a
danger.
snake.
Hell hath no fury.
A dragon.
Hello? This is an actual dragon heart. Kalima. Your belly needs to grow about 5 times bigger.
Kalima.
Grow a longer beard. Kalima. They don't. It's not a real dragon heart.
Kalima.
Oh, you boy, shut it down. Kalima. Not dragon tail recipes. Stop trying to eat me.
This time, I'm tasting history.
I'm gonna fight this, man. I want to preface this to everyone that thinks this. This is an actual dragon heart. It's named Dragon Heart. Because they want it to be badass.
Heart and mead.
Oh god, he's singing. Why is he singing? Is this a Poker reference? Not allowed. Oh, it was 4 years ago. It was a precursor. It was a hint that Poker was coming.
Today we're eating some heart and mead. Sorry. I tried to come up with a better...
It's hilarious that they think that mead would stop the poison, though.
opening to that, but that is the one that won out, so that's what you get. But it is true. Today we are going to be drinking the mead that I made 6 months ago, now slightly aged, as well as eating some
Aged mead. Can I have some?
roasted heart, a delicacy enjoyed by kings during the Viking Age. So thank you to the Great Courses Plus for sponsoring this video as we partake of heart and mead, this time on Tasting History.
I'm gonna fight this, man.
So today's dish was inspired by a conversation that I had with archaeologist Daniel Serra, co-author with Hannah Thunberg of An Early Meal. We were discussing my desire to retaste the mead that I had made back in the fall, and I was looking for a dish to accompany it. And he said that the mead would have been drunk during special occasions because honey was quite expensive. So we were looking for something that might also be enjoyed on special occasions. A meal fit for a king, you might say. Enter the heart of a beast, prized for its rarity due to the fact that most animals only have one heart, and because it's thought to imbue the eater with some of the qualities of the animal. So it would have been
They
a staple at
don't!
any
It's
feast,
not a
and
real
usually
dragon
reserved
heart!
for the guest of honor or the king, the warlord, whoever was sitting at the high chair. Now, there are no recipes from this time period, really, so we have to rely on archaeology as well as the writings of the Germanic and Norse people. And when I read this, imagine Sean Bean reading it, because it'll give it more gravitas. I dreamed my hawks from my hand had flown, eager for food to the land of all. I dreamed their hearts mingled with honey, swollen with blood. I ate amid sorrow. That was from the Poetic Edda, a collection of stories
That doesn't tell you that it's not a dragon heart. I don't know what does.
form the basis of Norse mythology and much of the legends of the Germanic people. Hardly a recipe, though. It's basically heart and honey. So we do have one extra ingredient, and honey is particularly appropriate today because we are tasting our mead. So for today's recipe, what you'll need is 1 heart. Now, I'm using pork heart, but you can use
Pork heart! Stab you people
lamb
thinking it was
or
actual
beef,
dragon
though
heart.
If you do use beef, then you'll probably be
Like you
inclined
could
to
find a
think of
dragon
Captain
in this day and
Beefheart,
age
at least if
anyways.
you remember musicians of the 1970s, and that's kind of weird. Also, do you think that you could become a famous musician today with a name like Captain Beefheart? I think not. A half cup or 118
Okay.
milliliters of honey, 1 or 2 leeks, a few juniper berries. Juniper berries that you buy at the store are usually dried, so you want to grind those up into a powder. And Daniel and Hannah recommend also using lingonberry, which I love lingonberry, but they're very hard to find fresh or even freeze-dried here in Southern California during this time of year. They're usually done and preserved with a bunch of sugar added, so that kind of defeats the purpose, so I'm not going to be using them. And a few slices of European-style bacon. The bacon's going to help to keep the meat from drying out too much. Another popular method in the Middle Ages was called barding, and that's where you wrapped it in Shakespeare. No, it was where you would wrap the whole meat in bacon.
Probably would be
still
before
do
you
today,
die.
And that also keeps it
That's
from
like
drying
stage
out.
6
and you can learn
diabetes.
about other wonderful medieval cooking techniques
Stage
in one of my
10.
favorite courses on the Great Courses Plus, Cooking Across the Ages. It is a course that I repeat over and over again, especially when I'm doing research. It's filled with great inspiration, and besides the fact that it has excellent history, it has the charm, wit, and genius of the great Ken Albala, one of my food history heroes. And being an on-demand video learning service, the Great Courses Plus really holds all of their lectures to that high standard. World-class teachers walking you through pretty much any subject that you can think of. It's an ever-growing catalog with over
Everyone in the chat trying to say it's Dragonheart.
11,000 video lectures on everything from cooking and history, of course, to philosophy, travel, nature, and even investing. So if, like me, you have a lifelong love of learning, you can start your free trial today by clicking the link in the description, thegreatcoursesplus.com/tastinghistory. Now, let us dive into the heart of our episode.
The
So
heart.
take your heart. By the way, every time I even touched that heart, all I could think of was the guy from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes, I was gonna make that joke right after he touched it, but then he started talking about it. Kalima, Kalima,
Kalima,
Kalima.
It's very disturbing. And then cut the fat from the top. And it's not just fat, it's also like the aorta and all those tubes at the top that you don't really want to eat. There is some fat in the heart, but very, very little. And what there is waxy and not really something that you want to eat. So just slice that off and add in bacon instead. Then slice it down the side and open it up, cutting out any large heartstrings. Yes, there are heartstrings. That is a real thing. There are all sorts of little connective tissue bits in there, and you can leave some, but you'll know which ones to take out because they just don't look like they should be eaten. Also, you want to run this under some cold water when you're done with that, just to make sure that you're getting everything out. Then chop up your leeks and chop up your bacon.
What do you think he means?
And put them into a bowl together along with your ground juniper berries. Then mix in about 2/3 of the honey. We'll save the rest of the honey for basting the heart while it is roasting. Now, you might have too much stuffing, and that is okay, because it really depends on the size of your leek and the size of your heart. So don't worry if you have too much, but go ahead and stuff the heart with as much mixture as you can. Now, how you cook this is really up to you. Later on, we're going to listen to a story from one of the sagas where they roast a heart on a spit. So that's the definite way to go if you can. I don't have that here in my kitchen.
How dare you not have a spit for your kitchen?
So I am roasting mine in the oven. I set my oven to
It's not Dragon Tail recipe. Stop trying to eat me.
300 degrees Fahrenheit or 150 Celsius. I did wrap mine around a skewer just because it is going to be easier to handle while basting. Then with some twine, tie the heart up tight and baste in honey before setting it in the oven on a roasting pan. Now you're going to cook this for about 45 minutes a pound, but I really encourage you to use a thermometer to stick in there and make sure that the meat has gotten to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 71 Celsius before taking it out of the oven. Now while our heart roasts, I think it's a good time to retaste our mead. It has a lot of sediment at the bottom, which I'm going to try not to get too much of, but let's see here. Oh, so fizzy. All right. It is so clear. So if you remember, before it was very foggy, and now it's perfectly clear. So something has changed. It's also a lot more effervescent than it was 6 months ago. Let's give this a taste. It's actually really quite alcoholic.
It tastes like sanitizer now, probably.
Not sweet. There's a little sweetness to it, but I mean, last time it was like drinking honey water. This is really good. Maybe I should become a mead maker. Is that a good career?
Your belly needs to grow about 5 times bigger. You need to grow a longer beard, and you need to be like, "Oh, you boy, settle down."
Your choice? I don't know. Yes, I think it would be. Mead maker. Maker of mead. Max the mead maker. Anyway, if you haven't seen the first episode, I will put a link in the description and probably up here to where you can watch me actually make the mead and taste it for the first time. This is also a good time to make sure that you have subscribed to Tasting History, and go ahead and hit the like button while you're down there. It really does a lot for the channel, and that way you...
Actually, I hold off on my opinion on that. Nah, I'm just kidding. Go ahead and do it.
Don't miss any future tastings of mead, though I think next time it's going to be Babylonian beer, because this summer I want to make Babylonian or Sumerian beer, actually. Anyway, all of that done, let's get into some history. Kind of. So today's history is interesting because there is a kernel of history in it, but what we're going to be talking about is actually the myth that kind of wraps around that kernel. And sometimes it's hard to tell what is real and what is not, what has been made up. And that happens a lot. Even in the mead video that I did 6 months ago, I talked about how the term honeymoon came from the practice of, after a Saxon wedding, a month or a moon's worth of mead was consumed. That actually happened, or something like it happened, but the term honeymoon didn't arise until much later. And it was actually something that the story, it was something that the Victorians just made up, something that they were constantly doing, and now we call that invented tradition, i.e. a lie that someone just made up that stuck around until it just became accepted as fact. It's just how it goes. And we like to think that, you know, making up myths is something that was done long, long ago, but it's not. The Victorians did it. We're still doing it today.
Who thinks that? What dumb person thinks that? We make up like freaking vampire stories all the time and stuff like that. Like,
but what we're talking about today, it did come from long, long ago. See, the recipe that I'm making today, the talk about the honeyed hearts and made from hawks and everything, that comes from a...
Also, it was hawk hearts, by the way.
...story mentioned in the Poetic Edda. It's also mentioned in the Volsung Saga, or the saga...
Which hawks, I think, are called like are said to be fierce as dragons or whatever.
...of the Volsungs.
Or something like that.
And one would assume that it's pure myth, but it's not. Because the person who's having the dream in the story is named King Atli, who history knows as Attila the Hun, who is a very real person, just ask the Romans. See, the Volsung Saga is one of the heroic legends of the Germanic people that lived in southern Scandinavia and modern-day Germany and Poland and that kind of area. And during the twilight years of the Roman Empire, they were butted up against the lands of the Huns, much of which is now like modern-day Hungary. That's where the term comes from. And several of the characters in the saga are based on real historical figures. And the Germanic and Scandinavian people loved historical fan fiction, and they would take these real characters and put them into new and kind of crazy situations. It's like the 6th century equivalent of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, see, we're making up myths all the time.
Well, in this saga, there are actually 2 references to the eating of hearts. The first is King Atli, or Attila the Hun, who has a dream of eating honeyed hawk hearts. But then his wife, Gudrun, who is also based on a real person, comes to him and says, it's actually not hawks. The hearts of thy sons hast thou eaten, sword dealer, all bloody with death and drenched with honey. Yeah, she killed his sons and then fed them to him. And then she kills him, and then she burns the hall with him and everyone else in it, just pretty much killing that whole part of the story off.
Hell hath no fury. Hello?
It's
Hello?
actually the other story of heart eating in the saga that I really love, and partly it's because it's portrayed in one of Wagner's operas in the Ring cycle, in the opera Siegfried, which I really enjoy. These are the operas with Ride of the Valkyrie, which everybody knows, as well as Brunhilde, who is often depicted as having a winged or a horned helmet, though that came from a costume designer at the end of the 1800s. Vikings probably never wore horns on their helmets. There's a lot of stuff about the Vikings that is not true that kind of arose around that time, including the fact that Viking was more of a profession. So the Viking Age is a time period. Viking was a profession. It means raider or pirate, so not everyone at the time was a Viking. It'd be like if in 1,000 years, today is remembered mostly for banking, and we are living in the banking age. though that doesn't make us all bankers. Anyway, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Back to the story.
Okay.
So this is the story of Sigurd, one of the great heroes of Germanic legend.
Sigurd. He's a cutie.
And he had a sort of stepfather who was a dwarf named Regin. And Regin asks Sigurd to kill his brother Fafnir because when Regin and Fafnir's father died, leaving a bunch of gold and treasure to them, Fafnir took it all for himself. The only thing is, Fafnir, who was a dwarf, somehow turned himself into what at this point is described as a snake. So Sigurd and Regin go to find Fafnir. Fafnir leaves his lair once a day to go get a drink at the edge of a lake. But on the path, Sigurd notices that it includes a cliff with a 30 fathom or about 180 foot drop. And he's like, I thought you said this was a snake. And Regin's like, well, it's a big snake. But you're brave, you got this. Just go dig a little pit along the path, and then when Fafnir goes over, just stick him with your sword, you're good to go. And then Regin leaves. So Sigurd is digging this pit when an old man with one eye walks up to him and says, Sigurd,
you in danger, girl.
Fafnir is not a snake, he is a dragon, and when you stab him, his blood will come out and it will burn you alive. So dig some pits around you so that when you stab him, the blood goes in there. I don't really see how physically that's going to work unless he stabs him with an umbrella and the blood like goes over the umbrella. I don't know. Anyway, the guy who might have been Odin, it's really unclear, he leaves. But he makes all of the pits and lies in wait, and soon Fafnir comes a-crawlin', and it's said that he's so large that the ground shakes with each step and that he spews venom in front of him the entire time. Not a snake. But Sigurd, who is famously afraid of nothing.
I forgot that some of these myths from like other regions are kind of outlandish.
Stabs him with his sword and delivers a fatal blow. Fatal, but not immediate. In fact, they have quite the dialogue. In the opera, Siegfried, who is Sigmund, changed his name for some reason, they have a 10-minute duet, so they do like the chit-chat. And what they talk about is Sigmund or Siegfried's name. Whose son thou art? Who is Fafnir's blood thy bright blade reddened, and struck thy sword to my heart? And Sigurd's like, I don't have a name, or a dad, or a mom. And it's because at the time it was thought that a dying man or dragon's last breath could be a curse. But he had to know the name of the person that he was cursing. So if Sigurd didn't tell him his name, no curse. But then Fafnir asks again, and Sigurd gives it all up. He's like, Sigurd's my name, killing dragons my game, my dad is Sigmund, my mother's maiden name is blah 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 blah, you want my blood type, whatever. He gives it all up with no explanation. It's kind of weird. So as you might expect, Fafnir says, I counsel thee, Sigurd, heed my speech, and ride thou homeward hence, for that same gold which I have owned shall now be thy bane as well. So he curses Sigurd, he curses the treasure, and then the dragon dies. And then Regin, the little dwarf, comes back and is like, hey, give me some of that sweet, sweet dragon blood. And he drinks his brother's blood. And then he says, sit now, Sigurd, for sleep will I, roast Fafnir's heart on the fire. For all his heart shall eaten be, since deep of blood I have drunk. So Sigurd puts the heart on the spit and roasts it. Then, when he thought that it was fully cooked, and the blood foamed out of the heart, then he tried it with his finger to see whether it was fully cooked. He burned his finger and put it in his mouth. But when Fafnir's heart's blood touched his tongue, he understood the speech of birds. Logical, he could understand birds after drinking the blood. Makes sense. And the birds around him happen to be really, really smart. There sits Sigurd, sprinkled with blood, and Fafnir's heart with fire he cooks. There Regin lies, and plans he lays, the youth to betray who trusts him well. Another said, let him smite the head from off him then, and be only lord of all that gold. So basically they say that Regin the dwarf is going to kill you as well, so you should cut off his head before he wakes up. And on the advice of woodpeckers, he does just that. Cuts the dwarf's head off and eats the rest of the dragon heart himself. It imbues him with so much courage that he then goes off to fight his next adventure. And that is why at a feast during the Viking Age, it was customary to give the heart to the king or whoever the guest of honor was, so that it would imbue them with
the heart being a part of, like, a heart of whatever animal they were eating. Typically a boar or fat cow or something.
The characteristics of whatever animal had
Oh,
given
that
their
blood was
life,
chock floated with
which
LSD.
really makes me wish that I had a dragon heart instead of a pig heart. Oink oink. Now while your heart roasts, make sure to baste it every 10 to 15 minutes with honey. That way you'll have a nice, sweet heart. And once it hits 160 Fahrenheit or 71 Celsius, take it out of the oven and let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then it's ready to serve. And here we are, roasted heart of the Viking Age. I'm going to slice myself a piece off here. Heart is not for me. I don't have the stomach for heart, it turns out. I mean, I ate it. The flavor actually, it's not for me. It's very honeyed, but the flavor is not my issue. It's the texture.
It'd be very rubbery, by the way.
It's so firm.
Yeah, it'd be very
so,
firm
like,
and very...
Because there's no fat, like, in the actual meat, it's just so... It's not rubbery. It's not for me. Let's just say that. That said, I think that the honey and the leek and all of the
Dice it next time, then you're not eating the heart.
In any other meat.
Just eating chopped up
Heart
meat.
just isn't from. It's not my bag. Yeah, but that's okay. I don't have to enjoy everything that I make here on the channel. That's part of the fun. I do look forward to making more recipes from an early meal.
This is kind of the thing. I hate how onions and tomatoes feel like in the mouth. At least sauteed onions. And then they always put the crunchy onions and stuff that I don't want crunching.
Most of them, I think, are right up my alley. I don't know why I went with the heart for the first one.
It's always like a texture issue.
Probably not my best decision, but you know what? It was interesting. Now, next week kicks off an entire month, or 4 weeks rather, of...
Also, I don't think pork heart would be very good. You'd want like a very muscular beast. Or like one that's like known to be fat. Maybe like a boar or something. Something that's like has muscle, but it's like chubby muscle, you know? Because I feel like there'd be a greater chance of like a boar's heart or a cow's heart to be more packed with like the fat would be more packed towards the center. So it'd be more towards the heart.
Ancient Roman recipes. So I'm really excited about that. So make sure to subscribe and follow me on Instagram, Tasting History with Max Miller. And check out the link in the description for your free trial of the Great Courses Plus. And I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Tasting History. Thank you for the follow series. Thank you. Welcome stream. Anyone on time drinking? But yeah, that was Tasting History with Max Miller. Don't forget to give him a like, guys. Give him a follow. Give him a meme on him that he'll never taste Boca's heart.
Eat.